Hello and welcome back to House of Astralis. My name is Kayla and today I have something a little different for you. If you're new here, typically I do tarot content, pick a cards, monthly moon cycle spreads, but today I wanted to do something a little different, a little new, mostly to get on my soapbox, but also because I have been wanting to expand a little bit on this channel and just add little new things here and there. So today, just like the title says, I read 28 books in 2025. And I will not go over every single one of them here in this video, but I do want to use this as an opportunity to talk about the ones that I think are really important and that everybody should read, and the ones that were kind of eh. So I have my notes here and I have different slides to pull up. So to get us started, the book categories, just as like upfront so you can see if this is kind of your style or not, so you can stay or not. And I'll also go over which ones I recommend before breaking them all down. I just want to front load everything here so that if you're watching in the beginning, again, you can look and see if this is what your vibe is, if this is something you're interested in watching as a book review. And I'll put it up on screen as well. But my categories were fiction / mythic fiction, and that was 10 books at 35.7% total. Next, we have psychology, self-help, inner work with 6 books at 21.4%. And my biggest overall with 12 books is the spiritual, esoteric, and metaphysical category, and that was at 42.9. And I broke down the categories into 5 subcategories. So I have top recommendations, books that were surprising to me, the ones that were underwhelming, the ones that are really quick, and honorable mentions that I probably won't talk a whole lot on this one. I just wanted to put them there because they're honorable, right? I guess that's the point of the title. I also have this fun little graphic that I will be putting on screen. It's the amount of books I finished per month. And if you take a look here, January, February, I didn't really read. It was like a slower start to the year. But March, I finished 5. So I guess or maybe I started reading some in January and February. I just didn't finish them till March. So 5. And then April to June kind of slumped down. But July, I picked back up. And I'm surprised that this isn't my most book heavy month, because I remember just being in that month and just listening to the audiobooks, and I would literally just be stretching for like an hour listening to it because I didn't want to put it down, essentially. But then August, September, kind of, I don't want to say low, but lower than July, and then October finished 7 of them. I don't know how I did that. And November with 1. I think it just, October probably was really book heavy, and then November did get pretty busy for me, and December as well. So that's why I didn't really finish the year off strong, but honestly, 28 books, I'll take it. I was talking to a friend about it, and she was saying that that's a lot of books. And that's a lot of books. And I'm over here like 28 in a year, like that's not, that's nothing, but that's averaging almost at 2 point something books a month. So, and then you can see some months were just way heavier than that average. And for funsies, because I went back to 2022 and I just wanted to see how many books I've finished since then, because 2022 was when I started kind of keeping track. And here you can see 58 books. Now that is freaking wild. I don't know how accurate that is. That is just in my notes where I keep my book log. I just have the note 2022 finished 58 books. And I know then I had an 8-hour full-time job that I can listen to my audiobooks all day, and I would just pause when I take calls or when customers would come in. So it wasn't bad at all, and I guess that's how I finished. Also, I think that, I don't know if that was peak Colleen Hoover. I think that was either her peak time on TikTok, or her books were getting a lot of traction, and I wanted to see what they were about. Maybe I was late to the game, but they were okay. None really stick except for the weird parts, and not my favorite author. So there's that. And I know I did read almost all of her books, but again, I don't even remember them. I know I read a lot of self-help or autobiographies then too. I think I just got like obsessed with knowing people's stories for some reason. So there's that. 2023, I have 2 books on there. Again, I don't know how accurate that is, but I think that's mostly accurate. That was a busy year. We moved states and then we moved a lot within that year as well. And then 2024, 4 books. Busy gal, full time job, I guess, that kept me from doing that. So, how did I manage to read this many books? How would I even manage to read at least 5 books? I use this library app called Libby. Like it's implied, it connects to your library. So, if you have a library card, you can use that. But you do have to be careful. I don't know if it accepts only the city or the county library card, so you just have to double check that. When I lived in San Diego, I had to get both because the first one that I got wasn't accepted, so I had to go to the second one and get one. It's not a big deal. And I also got Speechify, which helps because I can have it read out PDFs out loud. I use that a lot for my coursework. The Speechify really helps. I have some links down below with the top recommended books, and some of them are PDFs, and if you put that bad boy in Speechify, it should read it for you. Hack, I did the free trial, and I think either when it ended or when it was about to end, they gave me like a promotion of, hey, do 6 months free, and or yeah, 6 months free of a year trial, so technically it's 50% off. And that was way more doable than the annual subscription. And another hack, I also took advantage of their referral program. So with multiple emails, you can just send yourself that referral and use that as well. And that's what I did. I ended up again buying the subscription, so I didn't need to keep going back and forth on my emails. But hey, that helps. And I also listen on like 1.6 to 2 speed because I guess that's just how I process information. So I think that's also how I got through 58 books. But that goes to show I don't remember anything. That's 4 years ago now. I don't remember much. But also the books probably just weren't that catching or intriguing. So it could have been that, but I was also busy at work listening to them, so I'm not fully engaged as I was this year. Lastly, although I didn't get to do this until the end of 2025, it was like that last week of November, I took a break from social media. No more Instagram, when I guess that's the only social media I use except for YouTube, but no more Instagram, and I've been severely cutting my time on YouTube, especially now that you can hide the shorts and you can limit it. So I will have my short time to like 15 minutes a day. And honestly, that's just what works for me. I don't really want to spend my time on social media or doom scrolling or just constantly. I can't even say on my phone because a lot of the work I do is on my phone. But cutting out screen time that isn't helpful for me because I like to learn. I do a lot of studying and for my own practices, and I just find that I would rather be putting time to do that than to doom scroll and then feel bad about it afterwards and feel unaccomplished. So ultimately I just decided that the constant scrolling was taking away my time, and I don't miss it, although I should get back to it because of marketing and for House of Astralis on Instagram. I think it would be helpful to go back and reinvent that, but I'm just not ready to step back into Instagram at this time. It's been a great month and 3 weeks that I've been off of it, so I've been very happy. Like, I guess, I don't know, I'm not missing out on much. And in general, I mostly listen to audio formats, and I can listen to them whenever. I can listen to them while stretching or doing dishes or my errands and stuff. And with that, I kind of have to be careful so that I'm still paying attention and still retaining the information. But it's helpful because I don't have to sit here and read the book. And even with my coursework on Speechify, when I upload the PDFs, I sit there and kind of read with it. You know, having it read aloud and reading with my own eyes at the same time is really helpful. But instead of watching TV, I would play the audiobook instead, or instead of playing music in the car, I play the audiobook, and that's just how I prefer it. And obviously that doesn't work for everyone, but that's what has helped me finish this many books this year. So to get started in my top recommendations, I don't plan on spending a whole lot on them, but with the top recommendations, I don't know how I can't not do it. I think it's just a lot of passion for me here, and the other ones are should be more straightforward. My first top recommendation, and these are ones that really change the way I think about life, and these are ones that I kind of incorporate every day into my life. The way I'm going to go about them is not in the same order that they are on screen, but that's because I wanted to prioritize the bonus one because I have a lot to say on that. So first up, we have The Alchemist, and this is the first book that I actually read in the year, and I plan on reading it every year. I'm in the middle of it right now. I think I'm halfway through. So it's so good. This is the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place. I recommend this book to everyone. Literally, anytime I talk to someone, I'm like, hey, you should read The Alchemist. Have you read this yet? It's really good. I remember having to constantly pause it so I can write down the quotes real quick and just keep it in my note app, I guess. And I just remember, I think it was chapter 28. It was so good. I didn't even stop to pause it. I just took a screenshot of the chapter so I can go back anytime I want. So I'd be interested to go listen to it again this year, a year later, and see how that's faring for me and look back at my notes from last year. And I want to do this read every year. I think it's so good. And with all the work that I did last year, I'm just like, wow, that really did help, even though I wasn't constantly thinking about it or that I have a new fresh pair of eyes on it and a new perspective listening to it. I don't know, I think I'm just like, I get emotional listening to it. Like today was the first time that I started listening to it this year. And again, like halfway through, it's 4 hours, 4.5 hours, I think the YouTube video is. And I just found myself, for not no reason, but just like, kind of getting emotional about it. So I don't know. I hope you read it. And if you have read it, let me know because I don't know. I really love the book and I can't wait to read it every year. Next up, we have the energy codes. I included this here because it's crazy how the energy codes in the next book, the emotion code, are so similar and so easy for everybody to do. It's insane. It's a great resource to help people take responsibility, authority, and agency over their own energetic healing, which I really, really appreciate. And how, although these are simple practices, it's also about like that discipline and commitment to do it every day or every time. And at first it kind of takes a minute to grasp the concept. She goes into it, and again, it's just taking that authority over your own energetic healing and healing your body, your mind, your spirit with that. The emotion code is very similar, and I've actually used the emotion code on myself, my pets, my spouse, and it really does work. And it's just another energetic healing frequency or a modality. Everyone can do it, and it's really about using your body as if you don't practice on the person you're helping or you practice on yourself, there's a few different ways to do it. Like there's using your body as a pendulum or other ways. I prefer the ring and ring method just because that's the easiest. So just like basically yes or no, truthful or false statements. Pretty simple. And it kind of opened my eyes a lot. I've always been interested in energetic healing and kind of like natural ways to heal or however you want to phrase it. And these really helped me on that. And even in my own Reiki practice, as I am in the middle of getting fully certified, these are additional tools I have in my belt, my tool belt. And it really is just so crazy to think about how easy these techniques are, but they're not used or they're kind of hidden. Like I stumbled upon this book. I had never heard of it before. Next, we have When God Was a Woman. This is a very important discussion around when Mother Earth and the feminine was revered and not put down, but it is more scholarly. With that, I did kind of get lost while I was listening to it because it has all the academic references, as it should, but it was almost too constant. I don't even know how to explain that, but I did get lost from that, so I'd have to tune that out. But it is really, really good information, and it ties into the bonus, which I will talk about. The next book, The Gifts of Imperfection, I gifted this book 3 times. So I totally recommend this one. It's so good. So many good definitions that Brene Brown talks about as well. Just on shame, and there was, I think, joy, just so many things there that were helpful to have a different perspective on. I used it on the Kindle and I took a lot of highlights, so I was able to export it and save it. But I do recommend the hard copy just because of so many good definitions to go back through. And at the end, at least newer editions have some like workbook type questions or a place for you to log your definitions or something like that. And I think that's really helpful. So I know I gifted it to my mom, I gifted it to an aunt, and I gifted it to a friend. I know my mom read it and she found it really, really helpful. And I don't know about the other two, but I'm sure they would if they did read it. And it's just to really put an end to shame and talk about it, open that up, because a lot of people don't like talking about shame. And she really goes in and gives us ways to talk about it. And lastly, we have The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth. This is a big book, but I actually downloaded the PDF and it's only 294 pages. And I was like, those are easy. Why are the audios so long? Like, what the hell? But then looking at the text, it's really small print and it takes up the whole PDF. So it's really squished in there. But it is like When God Was a Woman without a lot of the academic jargon and a lot of the scholarly references like I was talking about. So that gets out of the way. I would recommend this book to everybody, and I know a lot of people would be triggered, especially those who have faith in certain religions, but this is a book that everybody needs to read. And if you want to use When God Was a Woman as like a stepping stone, maybe like to ease into it, totally fine. But it is so deep and it has opened my eyes so much. It's wild how much information is actually in this book. It's crazy. It's just like, wow. When you read a book and you're just like, holy crap, how has everyone not read this? And it makes sense as to why not a lot of people have read this, or why it's not in like the academic circles or required to read in school, which makes a lot of sense. But not everybody will be ready for the conversations that come up in this. Again, it'll make you kind of reflect on your own beliefs and the way that you see the world, and a lot of people won't like that, and a lot of people will be resistant to that. So it also goes deeply into how far the propaganda is around the goddess, the feminine, women in general, and why we are so hated and punished in our society. And I have a quote here that I would like to share. This quote is from chapter 31. What was once seen among original humans as sacred and magically powerful to the whole kin group or tribe becomes under male religion impure, filthy, dangerous, negative, and evil. The source of life, female, is redefined and now hated as the enemy of male life. What was once woman's power is to now be woman's curse. Woman's curse, woman's shame. So that's just one quote. If I was here having to give you every single quote that I thought was eye-opening and important, I'd probably quote the whole book. This book is for you if you have questions about why or how we're in a patriarchal system, why women get erased constantly, why menstruation, pregnancy, and childbirth are taboos, and again thought of as disgusting and evil, and why mainstream religion almost promotes these ideas and upholds these foundations to put us to shame. If you want to know how to change the world for the better, this book is for you. And if you want to know what it was like before the patriarchy and before things got a lot more crazy, this is for you. And a fun little thing I want to add here is that on YouTube, I found this multimedia artist and content creator, Cassandra Faye Floyd. She's been reading this book online, live streamed, and she did it in 2023, I believe. And I found a playlist with the complete series, so she's read them, and someone put them in a playlist that will have linked below. I really do appreciate her commentary. And she just kind of says what you're thinking. Like, a lot of times she'll be like, someone's about to be mad, someone's not gonna like this, like someone's about to be real mad today, and y'all did not hear what is being said here. And it's just like, holy crap, I'm so glad to have her as a mirror, you know, someone to read to me and kind of reflect what I'm feeling and thinking about in the moment. If she doesn't really talk a lot at the end, or she doesn't like digress and talk full length and about her own ideas in it, because she wanted to have just a straightforward read through. But there is one video that I will link down below. At the end, like the last 10, maybe 15 minutes, she starts talking, and I'm going to link that so that if you're interested, or maybe you just want to catch that part and kind of see what she has to say, it's really important. And I think that'll grab your attention and make you want to read the book. I cannot appreciate her enough for putting this out there and allowing others like myself to hear her read it, because I was having trouble when I first got it from Libby, I believe. I did not have enough time in the 21 days to read it through the app. But yes, again, if you were to read any book this year, I would say it's this one. It's really thick, but honestly not as long. It's not much longer than a standard like big novel book. Like, I think Twilight back there is probably around the same length. Again, it may ruffle some feathers, and it may make you have to reflect on your beliefs in your life and how you think the world is, but it's so important. I think that risk is worth the reward for opening your eyes a lot more. Okay, now we are moving on to the books that surprised me. The first two are The Psychic Art of Tarot and Psychic Witch by Matt Oren, and they are packed with great information, so many exercises and meditations. I, unfortunately, am not much of a visualization person. I'm an aphantasia girly, even though I'm working on it. A lot of the meditations were hard for me, but again, so much good information here. Definitely has that foundation in witchcraft, and then with the tarot, it's just really helpful to see how you can work with the cards in other ways to understand their meanings. And I would recommend them again and again. I can't wait to read another one of his books, the mediumship one, and then I think he has at least one or two more. So I definitely recommend him as an author, at least from these two books. Next, we have Psyche and Eros. I love the spin on the myth of Psyche and Eros, because it puts my girl Psyche as like not a damsel in distress. She can really hold her own. And I really, really, really appreciated that. She's kind of a badass and like really cool in there. She knows how to fight. But it does paint my girl Aphrodite in a harsh light. It makes her the villain, and it's just like, oh girl, I'm so sorry they did this to you. But no, it's really fun. So many gods and goddesses are in there, even as like little side characters. But Hecate, she's in there, and I was like, yay, she's there. She's showing up. So that was really cool. Next up, we do have Circe, which was another great spin on the goddess. It honestly was a bit anxiety-inducing just in some parts. Spoiler alert, she was taking care of an infant, and just the way that the book was describing that, I was just like, oh, overstimulated. I was like, how is she doing that? I could not do it. And there may also be a light trigger warning if you know anything about her story and her myth. I would just be a little cautious. It's about SA, but it doesn't go into a lot of detail from what I remember. It's not graphic at all. It's just, it says what happens during one night out on her island. So I would just be a little cautious, or maybe look into that a little more if you need to. Next, we have Tender is the Flesh. So I went into it vaguely knowing it was about cannibalism, and that shouldn't be a spoiler, but there's definitely shock value, and it evokes a freaking conversation that we can have about our world and our food processes and how different ours is compared to theirs, or not how different it is, how similar it is. But I was underwhelmed with the character we follow through the story and his life, but he does make you go, huh? You did what? Like, what is wrong with you? And it makes you just like, oh, nah, can I finish this? You know? The pacing could have also been intentional, but it starts off really slow and then just picks up pretty abruptly and then ends. I talked to another friend, and I believe she had the same opinion as I did. It was just feeling like it just ended. Like, is there more? I thought there would be a lot more there, and there really wasn't. So it's just like left with, now what? I would have liked to see a lot more point of views from the characters in this world, just because the conversation is definitely interesting. I got his point of view about how he saw the world and how he perceived others to see it, and I would have liked to see it from their perspective, which also leads me to the underwhelming category. So, it's not that this book was bad, but I mentioned it here again. It's just, I definitely wouldn't read it again. I don't know if I would recommend it, or at least I would recommend it, but not under the guise of this is the most important book you'll ever read. Again, just kind of the pace threw me off a little bit, and I was just wanting more from it, or maybe wanting a deeper conversation around it. I'm not sure. I do like things to go like in deep. I get like deep, so maybe I was just missing that factor, because that's another thing about staring at the sun. I was just expecting a lot more deep explorations and conversations and talking points about it, because it is about death and morality, dealing with morality that everybody will have to face. And the author is a therapist, and I did enjoy that he was discussing his own patient sessions and how death is actually the root of a lot of things, and he brings it up in around those sessions, and it's like, oh, I can totally see that. But again, I was just hoping for something a little more deeper, maybe a little bit more explorative. He also did include a section about his own atheist beliefs. I think they were atheists at least. And from what I remember, he said he didn't really let that affect his sessions, but I kind of feel like they did, or at least they affected that outlook, and maybe that's why we didn't get the depthness that Scorpio Sun, wanted from this book. And I think this is definitely good for those who don't mind surface level conversations about death, or who just want an easy introduction, because talking about morality and death can be hard. But if you want something that goes a lot deeper, then you might be underwhelmed like I was. But again, it's not that it's a bad book, it's just I was expecting more from it, which is why it's underwhelming. Next up, we have Quickies. These are short reads. Women Who Run with Wolves. It's a 2-hour listen. 2 hours. That I finished that in an hour and some, because of how fast I listened to it. But this is another one I would recommend, because it goes into how women were kind of shunned, and how we were told to be a certain way. And it's an important pair to the Great Cosmic Mother, and when God was a woman, how societies systematically strip away the feminine spirit, essentially. Who Moved My Cheese is another 2-hour listen. You could get this done easy on your way to work and back within 2 days. But it provides a way to deal with change, and how to take agency over how you feel about change, and how to work with change instead of against it. And now, I read this in October, I think. And now that I'm listening to The Alchemist in January 2026, I can definitely see these two pairing together too. The taking agency part is a really important lesson, and how to not victimize yourself and just move with the currents, the universal rhythm that happens to every single one of us. Heal the Witch Wound is 6 hours, but shorter than most of the books on here, so that I snuck it into the quickie section, because it's another important topic, again, about women and the feminine spirit, and how the things that we either went through in our past life or ancestors went through, and just how society affects certain groups of people, how that's been passed down to us now. And we feel this wound that we didn't go through in this present life, but it's still affecting us. And I think it's a very important conversation about how our soul, spirit, and DNA take on things from the past, even if we didn't directly experience that. Lastly, we have honorable mentions. I wanted to include this because when I was making the list, I was like, okay, where do I put these? I don't want to just not mention any of these. So I made this category because why not? So first up, we have The Chaos of Stars, and I actually read this years ago. It was either middle school or high school, and randomly one day in March, I remembered about it because I was reading this Egyptian book, the ancient Egyptian magic for modern witches. So it was about the deities, and I was like, I read something about them, and it was mythic fiction, but I remember them being characters in a book, and I just didn't remember, so I finally found it. When I started reading it last year, I was surprised to find that it took place in San Diego. Well, Egypt, obviously, but San Diego as well. And I was just amazed because at that time I lived in San Diego, and I moved from a different state, a small town, when I originally read it. And, it's just like one of those red strings or those like red threads that was in my life. And I just felt like it was a really good, really powerful synchronicity for me at that point in time, which I can really appreciate. I was just like, wow. It's so good though. In my opinion, the main character is a bit frustrating, but I think that's because I'm an adult now and I can see things from a different point of view and see where she should ease up a little bit. But it's always maybe even projection, because maybe at one point I was her. So now as an adult, it's like, oh, don't, like, don't do that, girl. But other deities get brought in as well, and I really liked that. And stars, House of Astralis, I'm very in tune with the stars, the universe, so I could appreciate that. And unfortunately, this puts my girl Hathor in a harsh light too. Freaking basically the antagonist over here, or at least perceived that way. So I was just like, ugh, of course, but someone has to be, right? Next, I have the Esoteric Dream Book. I've been doing a lot of dream work and interpreting my own dreams, which is a big feat because we each have our own intuitive and subconscious language that our intuition and dreams subconscious speak through. So it doesn't always what it means at face value. And my dream of a dog can mean something totally different than yours, which is, it sucks, but it's just like, that's part of my work here, is I want to understand my subconscious language. And having these dreams, crazy. Write your dreams down, type them when you first wake up in the morning, memo them, do something, because holy crap. And at first you may, I guess this is going a little off topic, but a lot of people say that their dreams are just random, they're just like doing random things. And I totally get that. Even a year plus into constantly doing it and doing it with intention, some things are still pretty random. And that's part of our subconscious kind of filtering out our day and stuff. Like there are some random things that I'll see throughout the day that's in my dreams. Doesn't always mean something. Sometimes it does. It's just, that's your own opportunity to figure that out. And the more you do it, the less frequent that is, and the more symbolic or the more meaningful dreams can come through. So it just takes practice. You can't give up. You dream every night anyway, so you might as well work through it with intention. That's just my own belief. But this book was very helpful because I can turn to it again and again, and it includes so many correspondences to the dreams, like the tarot, characters in like pop culture, the chakras, deities, herbs, stones, the zodiac, so many things. And like the archetypes are a really big one, which is important. So I can easily, like, if I have a dream about a zombie, I can go to that section and see what it says and see if it resonates with how I can interpret it. My one gripe about dream interpretation books in general is that for topics such as the very intimate kind, the not safe for work kind of dreams, they all say the same things or similar things that I just never agreed with. They say that like you're bored or you're longing for it, and that never felt right to me, or at least felt right for the dreams that I had. And so the book, there's like 4 authors here, 3 of them. Their interpretations aren't much different, but it at least added that there's some spiritual stuff to it, like divine union, or even like you see something in them that you like. You dream about that type of union with a powerful person or like magical person. Maybe you want that for yourself. And again, some of it doesn't really hit for me, and I guess that's the point of our own intuitive subconscious language, where it's my own interpretation that I have to figure out for my own dreams, and clearly none of these work for me, or maybe I just don't want to see it that way. Could be projecting, who knows? But I have yet to find a dream about intercourse that actually hits like, oh, that really fit for me. But I would be curious if you do dream interpretation, or if you have had these types of dreams and you're like, yeah, it's because I was bored, or I was wanting it, desperate, like whatever that may be. I would be curious because I'm sure it's different for everyone. Next, we have What My Bones Know. I am a big fan of reading memoirs and biographies, and I didn't know it was like this at first. But I guess on the title, like the front page, it literally says a memoir of healing from complex trauma. I just didn't know what I was getting myself into. And not in a bad way, not in a bad way, because I do appreciate her vulnerability and the strength to share her experiences, especially being so open about what you went through as a child and how she was able to work through that as an adult, even though, and really get like for real about herself. Like one thing I remember her saying was, when she found out about it's about complex PTSD, complex trauma. When she found out about it, she kind of did some inner work and trying to help herself through it, but also realized like, oh, maybe like I'm not she's not the bad guy, but like in certain situations she's like, that's why this person didn't want to be friends with me anymore, because the way I react to certain things and overdo it. So I think that was just like really powerful for her to be able to look on that situation now and be like, oh, I see, I was selfish, or I didn't take into her feelings into account, etc. And because it is about CPTSD, she does provide a trigger warning and her journey of discovering that for herself and how she felt about it. And she does go into certain scenarios or situations. None of it was like overly triggering for me, but again, I was not in her shoes, so I cannot say what will be triggering for you. But I was able to get a couple of great things out of it. For example, she was in a therapy session and she was doing EMDR. And her therapist asked, okay, in this situation, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And she was just kind of like, it's not that bad, like it's like 4, if that. But yet the therapist is like, you were just saying how really bad it is, but when I ask you how you felt or what you think about it, it's low. And that conversation really helped me because she realized like she was disassociative from it, not fully in that, although she could remember all of it, or at least remember why that was such a traumatic event, she couldn't say why it was a 10, for example. So that was really helpful. And another thing it does is help you to empathize with others, because you truly never know what someone went through to make them who they are. So again, you have a friend who is not really a good friend, but maybe you can empathize and wonder why. It's not your job though to delve into it and figure out all of their childhood trauma, but it's again another way to empathize and realize like, oh, this is a person just like me. Lastly, we have the All Souls trilogy and the 2 companion books. And I think there's another book being released this year, 2026, which would be nice. I would definitely read them again. I would read that one. I would not read the whole series again. This was a great blend of witches, vampires, and demons, not the religious demons like you're going to hell type thing. It was a very enticing story, and I really didn't want the series to end. This is the one where I was stretching for like an hour just to like extend the amount of time I listened to it. And it was about alchemy, which was really big in my journey this year, and it was helpful. So I can really appreciate that. It was really good. Personally, the last book, The Blackbird Oracle, that was okay. I do have a big gripe with the series though, with the story. And I don't want to spoil it more than me saying that this happens to so many female characters, and I am tired of it. I am tired of it. It's like we can't have nice things, I feel like. So that's my gripe, and the reason why I'm okay with it is because for the storyline, it did make sense and it did have to happen. I just wish there were things that led up to it that were a bit more, that the character was a bit more open to it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I am certainly projecting here. It had to do with the alchemical process, so that's why I'm okay with it. But if this book was about anything else or didn't have alchemy in the first place, then I would be a lot more annoyed. But it's just like, ugh, come on. Like, this is such a scapegoat, and it just puts more pressure on us women. And you're gonna change your mind. So whatever. I'll finish it there because I don't want to spoil it more than I already have. So that is the end. I hope I didn't yap your ear off too much, but I wanted to use this as an opportunity to get on my platform and talk on my soapbox and just chat about things. But to tie it all together, what kind of reader I was this year was the metaphysical stuff. Like even the nonfiction, like I've read a lot of magic books about like rituals or certain belief systems, magic in general. And you can see that through all of my stuff. The deities and the chaos of stars, the dream books, the witches, the vampires. So you can definitely see that line through there and the energy healing. This year, I'm definitely going to stick with the metaphysical and feminist theme that I've had going on. It's just something I'm more inclined to now. And with the Great Cosmic Mother, I forgot to mention this, but if I could read this book every year, I would. I want to talk to so many people about this book. It's just, holy crap. I don't have anyone to talk to about it. I'm just like, okay, can I recommend it to just anybody? But I may sprinkle in some fiction throughout to keep it light like I did this year, but maybe less fiction just because I have such an extensive book list that I want to get through. And then already on Libby, I have a ton of books that I need to check out. And yeah, I think it's just, again, having to be mindful of what I consume, even if it is books, even if it is something I'm interested in learning and I'm still doing that. I personally, maybe it's the Sag Moon, I have to be very careful because I can just spread myself so thin and touch every little thing, and I just have to reel it in and be a little bit more intentional about it. So that's my main thing for this year. But regardless, I do want to incorporate note-taking and not just consuming books to get to the next one, which I think I mentioned that earlier, but maybe just like some debrief about it or things that stood out, because I didn't do that for really any of these books. And there are a couple things I can just like list at the top of my head, but there's some bigger themes that probably would have been helpful if I really took notes. So with that being said, thank you so much if you've made it this far. Definitely let me know in the comments if you've read any of these. Let me know where you'd rank them, or if you're interested in any of these, or if you've read something else, but what was your most surprising read? Anything. Let me know if you want to see more of this content or different types of new things going on this channel. So thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for the interaction, and I can't wait to see you again next time. So I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you then.